And hello, welcome everyone to this video. So in this video, well, behind the scenes, of course, with this video, I've done a Fahrenheit to Celsius converter, and it's a new form. Okay, so this is the experimental branch. It has a nicer aesthetic look and feel to it, and I haven't gone through aesthetics just yet, just gone through the basic functionality. But this is what it can do. You convert 212 Fahrenheit, you should be able to get a good result like this. However, if you enter a nonsense value, you will say that this is not a valid value. Okay, so this is also form validation. Now, if you actually look at form validation online, oops, this is the wrong one. Yes. If you actually look at form validation online, you will see things like model validation in ASP.NET Core, MVC, and Razor pages. Okay, and then you look at the first thing you'll be thrown is this thing called model state. Okay, then you'll be thrown this whole line of code, which may be pretty confusing if you never dealt with models before. And then you'll see this thing called validation attributes, and then by the looks of this, if you look at this code, it says, this is a required thing. It specifies a string length, and of course, if you wanted, you can also take a look, like at the let me see, it should be range somewhere. I think I opened too many tabs, but okay, there's also a way to validate your models or validate your data using range. You see, yes, here's a range validation in the validation attributes. Okay, so somehow all the code in HTML, which we said, okay, we have a minimum value and maximum value, somehow all those pieces of data, they're specified over here, right? So what's the deal? Okay, why is this why are we coding everything here? Okay, this is like the conventional way, the more conventional way to do it in .NET Core. The last video I was doing it with HTML. Okay, and if you want to do it the conventional way, the quote unquote more correct way, the way that most web coders will do it, it is a little bit more challenging. Okay, you will need to have a lot of prerequisite data in order to understand what's going on. Okay, so I've actually done up some code and tried it myself, and it works nicely, and the code is pretty neat in comparison to what we did before. So so you see the code here I did has a type number, text value, blah 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 blah. And then all I have here is just this ASP4 and ASP validation form. These are tech helpers. Okay, so I've just thrown a lot of terms to you. Where do they all fit in? Okay, let me take a GIMP, right? Take a GIMP. Let's just put this concept. Hold on. Yeah, let's just tie down some concepts first. So you have this thing called model, or maybe model. I'm using my mouse to write, so pardon me. Validation. Okay, and again, I'm just journaling my learning experience on YouTube. It's going to help me, but I don't know whether it'll help you. Okay, model validation. In ASP.NET Core. Okay, well, what do you need here? Okay, so we've thrown in some things like model. What's a model? What's this whole concept of model in ASP.NET Core? You'll see this term being used, and if you search model in ASP.NET Core, you will come across this term called model, view, and controller. Okay, so searching one term actually results in throwing you back at 3 terms that don't even really make sense to you right now if you are a first timer in this and you barely coded any web before. So how do you find your way around? Okay, so that's the first clue. Okay, so after doing some searches, I found that these these are just basically special types of classes. So we've done classes and objects before, very briefly, classes, objects, and namespace. So the way we kind of organize websites in ASP.NET Core, or the way people like to do it, is commonly, well, there are at least two frameworks, two schools of thought, so to speak, or two ways you can organize your functions, your data and everything. Okay, it's MVC, model, view, and controller. Okay, so models and controllers are special types of classes. Models are where you store data. Controllers are where you handle the navigation of the web page when you put in requests. Okay, so these are just something to help you get an idea of where we are going. Okay, and to understand model validation, we also need to understand what binding is. Oh, another big word right there. Because previously we used the HTTP request from the form. We get a key from it, or a piece of string or text saying, oh, we want this value from the form, and then we can pull that value out from the HTTP form. Okay, but if we do it with the ASP.NET Core, the so-called proper way, okay, then we'll be thrown into this whole idea of model binding. Alright, so what is model binding about? Well, model binding is, okay, let's say I enter a piece of number here. Somehow, using ASP.NET Core's method, they will automatically assign the value here to a value here, like temperature in Fahrenheit. And then what happens is that, oh, this value gets automatically assigned to this attribute, okay, or this piece of data within this model or pages class, page model class. Ooh, another few big pages, a few big terms there. But okay, so binding just automates that whole. If you see here, in my experimental class or experimental branch, I actually use this request form. Yeah, this request form thing, which pulls data from the HTTP request forms, and yeah, it does it manually. If you want to automate this thing, you can use this thing called model binding. It will make your code less cluttered, but unless you know what you're doing, or unless you've seen this before, you'll be pretty confused where this is all going. So what's model binding about? Well, again, with model binding, you need to understand what this model view and controller is first. And of course, to understand model views and controllers, we need to understand classes properly. And of course, binding, the other thing that you need to see is ASP, what's it called? Tech helpers. Okay, so what are tech helpers? Okay, because the only thing we know right now are HTML, so we can put a comparison: tech helpers versus HTML. Okay, I just showed you the HTML way of writing forms and setting the validations of values manually, and it will be something like this. If I say type in ABCDE and I try to press the convert, it will complain and say, please enter a number. Okay, so whereas when I type the same thing and I type convert, okay, well, both of them will complain, but it says this value is not valid for temperature in Fahrenheit. Okay, so okay, what's the deal, man? What's the deal? Okay, so yeah, those are two different ways of form validation. So you have the ASP tech helper way versus the HTML way. Okay, so okay, so we'll have a lot of ground to cover, but at least in the next few videos, we'll want to explain what ASP tech helpers are. We'll want to explain what the model view controller class of what's the deal with model views and controllers. Then we can talk about binding the ASP tech helper to the attributes. So and then we can talk about the whole idea of using the ASP.NET way of .NET Core way of model validation. So probably we'll do this first. We'll have some revision of classes. We'll look at model view and controller. We'll look at ASP tag helpers next, okay, and then we'll take a look at binding, and then finally we look at model validation. Okay, so this is the map to so-called get us out of the confusion. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so 5 steps. Yeah, first we do some class revision, classes and namespace. Okay, classes and namespace. Okay, then we talk about MVC, which is model view and controller, tag helpers, and talk about binding. And then lastly, we talk about model validation. Okay, so through all this, we will then aim to design a Fahrenheit to Celsius converter using this paradigm rather than using the very simple HTML. Okay, why do we want to do this? Is because we want to learn the so-called proper way of doing things the ASP.NET Core way, or at least more proper than the HTML way where we just manually code everything. So we take advantage of the automation thing that the ASP.NET Core allows us to do. Okay, so that's what I did, and I'm just going to journal down, you know, where all this is going. I have a lot of web pages here, and I'll go through them one at a time. Oh, okay. Alright, so yeah. So that's it. Thanks for watching.